Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining me today for Stay Free with Russell Brand. What a fantastic show it is. It's an interview with Cheryl Hines, a person that I've known for a little while as a result of being friends with Secretary Kennedy, and I've been a fan of her for a long time, actually, because I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. One of the things about being a person that's operated in the entertainment industry is it's really weird to sort of reorganize your opinions and perspectives on people that you've liked for a long while. For example, say Larry David. I love Larry David. I think he's really funny. And I also actually thought it was funny when he wrote that My Dinner with Hitler about Bill Maher going to visit Trump. I thought that was funny. One of the things I'm trying to understand is how is it that we operate now in a space where you either hate everyone on this side of the aisle or love everyone on that side of the aisle, and on the right there's endless fracturing. Candace Owens don't like this person, Jordan Peterson don't like that. But I mean, it's like, that's why I feel like Christianity's got to be at the forefront. Now think about the pivotal recent event, the murder of Charlie Kirk, and how that seems to have further fractured the space. Do you think, let me know in the comments and chat, that over time Charlie Kirk was moving more and more into his faith in Christianity as the guiding ideal above his republicanism? When I took part in a Turning Point event over in Oklahoma, what I thought was really interesting is one American Indian, I don't mean in a Pocahontas way, I mean India as in curries and that way. He said, I'm an American Indian, you know, look, you know what I mean, don't you? Anyway, he said that his Hinduism foreclosed his full participation in something like Turning Point. And I said, well, look, the Christianity is really what I believe in. I know like most of you are probably right-wing and most of you are probably Republican, and I'm certainly not a Democrat person. In fact, I'm English. I'm not involved in any of this stuff. What I believe in is the power of the Lord and the power of the Lord to change things. And that's what we're advocating for in this show. Whether or not that's where you are right now, what I'm interested in is how, as I've learned more and more about Christ, it aligns completely with, and supersedes, obviously, what I'd learned previously from a New Age perspective, a Vedic perspective, a drug addict perspective. And in fact, just today, I was reading Ezekiel, the opening chapters of Ezekiel, and he's describing what sounds to me like a UFO encounter, right, pretty vividly. And I remember hearing about that when I was much more into doing acid and, you know, and extraterrestrials and counterculture from a new perspective. A perspective now that seems somewhat jaded, although it's been further illustrated by the likes of David Icke, who was someone I was into when I was a kid, and Alex Jones and other folk. You know, what I'm saying is that Christianity is a belief system that can encompass whatever it is you're trying to understand and appreciate, and that Christianity probably, I reckon, like everything, is going to go through some interesting revisions, although God is the Alpha and the Omega, the same in the beginning of time and before time as he is now and ever shall be, to quote from the Catholic Glory Be prayer. So what I'm trying to bring to the work that we're doing now is my own raw, honest, authentic, in the moment experience of getting to know Christ. I'm writing about it. I'm going to be performing in Austin. In fact, there's a link here. Come see me at the Vulcan gas station, gas bar, gas powerhouse gas company in Austin, where I will be talking about coming to the Lord in my show. A funny thing happened on my way to church. I'll be doing that. I've not written it yet, but like, my God, I've lived it. And you can come and see me. Let me know which all the snow songs you're most looking forward to seeing me sing at that show. I'll see you there. Click the link in the description. If you don't have Rumble Premium yet, get Rumble Premium right now. It means you get more content from me, Dave Rubin, you get the Mug Club off Crowder, you get stuff from Glenn Greenwald, who's, you know, in terms of journalistic integrity, I don't think there's anyone better than him on Rumble or anywhere, as a matter of fact. You'll learn more, and you know, Rumble's crazy, the world's crazy now, isn't it? Like, look at the internet, the whole thing's about war. But here you do have access to some brilliant content creators, and I hope that you will support us if you can. Now, this is the thing I really want to tell you. Cheryl is interesting, Cheryl Hines, because she's like I think she's like a working class woman, you know, grew up in Florida, got into acting and stuff, and then got with Bobby Kennedy, and imagine she's just like with this Kennedy, I mean, kind of exciting. He's a lawyer, an environmental lawyer and all that. Then he runs for independent president as an independent candidate, and suddenly she's in a world of chaos and pain. The best story she told me was this one. It's in the book, later in the book, and if I'd done my research properly, I would have read the book, but you know, it's just I don't know, look at me. So anyway, in the book, if you get it, her book, Cheryl Hines' book that she's written on this subject, which is called Unscripted. In her book, she talks about how when she first met Trump, she broke out in hives prior to the event. She told me this story, not in the podcast because I forgot to ask, but she told me in real life, and I loved it. What she said was that before she met Trump, she's like, oh my God, it was at the RNC in Milwaukee. She's like, where Trump and Kennedy are meeting to talk about the alliance that subsequently happened. Is he going to be vice president? What's it going to happen? How's this all going to work out? Well, we know how it's all going to work out now. But she's a person from Hollywood knowing she's going to meet Trump for the first time. She goes to some hotel room in Milwaukee. I don't know what hotel. I didn't see Trump other than from the stage or whatever the whole time I was in Milwaukee at the RNC. Anyway, she meets him in some hotel room. They sat around a coffee table, and Bobby Kennedy, if you know him or have watched him, that dude can talk. I know he has like vocal difficulty, but really he can talk. Like he chats and chats and chats. He's a raconteur. Apparently Trump sits down next to her and she's like feeling like, oh my God, this is Trump. I'm meeting Trump and I've like come from this background, Larry David and Hollywood and all this stuff. What's he going to be like? And like he sat next to her and like Bobby Kennedy's talking maybe about, I don't know, who knows what he's talking about. Let me know in the comments and chat. He's talking about vaccines. He's talking about health. He's talking about doing pull-ups. Who knows what he's talking about? But just while Kennedy is like riffing and proselytizing and raconteuring, Trump, apropos of nothing, just sort of nudges her and goes, I don't mind his voice. Just says that in the middle of it. I don't mind his voice. When I hear those kind of things about Trump, I think, who is this man? What level does he operate on? A bit like when he was at the UN and he talked for ages and ages about grout and marble tiles and building techniques from the perspective of someone that tried to win that contract when he was in the construction game in New York City. He's talking about the UN building in New York there opposite the Waldorf Astoria.
Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo.
And I was like, hey man, there's war between Israel and Palestine. There's war, Russia, Ukraine. The world's complicated. He's talked about it for so long. It fascinates me. The world fascinates me. People fascinate me.
As far as I'm concerned, frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job.
Obviously, Cheryl Hines has been in the public eye for a long time, mostly as a comedian and actor. And she's got stories about Larry David. She's got stories about Robin Williams. But I really liked her recent appearance on The View, where she was able to competently defend her husband's position. In our conversation, in a minute that you'll see, she talks about, like, she didn't say to any of the women on The View, let's talk about your husband. And isn't it funny that a show like The View, which positions itself as kind of de facto progressive and feminist, when it comes to it, will just talk to a woman about their husband. You know, there's like a screenplay writing law, which I bet Massey knows about, that's like, if you write a film and you don't have at least a moment where two female characters talk about something other than a man they're involved with, it doesn't pass a particular test. I think I've seen jokes about it on Rick and Morty, otherwise I wouldn't know about it.
Morty, do you know what the Bechdel test is?
The what?
For God's sake, Morty, the formula for measuring female agency in a story proposed by lesbian cartoonist Allison. What the hell are they teaching you in that school?
Other stuff!
Then you've killed us both!
Why is lesbian part of her job title?
Oh, now you're progressive?
It's called the Bechdel test, where in order to qualify as, say, as feminist or even just not sexist literature, you have to have two female characters talking at some point about something other than a man. And they would fail it, and they'd be the kind of people that would say that they support it. That's one of the things about progressivism that's irksome, is it doesn't believe in its own tokens and emblems. In fact, the word token is better than the word emblem, because token is a gesture and emblem is a symbol. So let's have a look at this moment where Cheryl spoke to the members of the View cast and see how it went down, and let me know in the comments and chat before we get to the interview itself how you felt Cheryl handled it.
When you say that they are pro-vaccine, it seems as though Bobby and Trump are casting doubt on the efficacy of the vaccine, which makes Americans very nervous. So that's the problem that we're having.
Okay, yeah. I understand. Yeah. I understand that. And it's interesting because, I don't know if you saw, 60 Minutes just did a piece about the vaccine injury compensation program.
Yeah.
So people that have had vaccine injuries can be compensated if they can prove it. And they have paid out $5.4 billion for vaccine injuries. So my question is, Can we do better? Do we?
Is that all vaccines or just the COVID vaccine?
It's all vaccines.
It's all vaccines.
As far as I know.
Look at Whoopi Goldberg going to bat for Big Pharma. Yeah, but that's all vaccines. Honey, that's no problem. There's vaccines since time began. There's people that were getting vaccines in the Civil War from George Washington that should be remunerated on that basis. So it's fascinating that the default position is to defend the establishment. As surely as their production model includes a QR code which demonstrates how they've evolved to be expert and functional at selling commodity. Don't use that QR code, by the way, when you buy Cheryl's book, because otherwise The View will go, we're able to say that our guests sell this many books. What we want is you to use this QR code that sells the book, and then people will realise independent media is more effective at selling commodities even than their filthy propagandist stinking model, and they will experience the decay and decline that is surely their legacy, Lord. So buy it from us, not from her. So what I'm saying is that what that is, The View, is a show that sells products. In a way, our show is a show that sells products. But hopefully you can tell and feel that we have got nothing to hide, that we are viscerally raw and open and candid and totally real. And what I want to say mostly about that View, and her being on it, Cheryl I mean by her, is it's a unique situation because The View tends to churn people that are safe. Once in a while you'll see someone like Norm Macdonald on there and it'll be like, what? Norm Macdonald's breaking the set because of his brain. I can't remember what it was like when I went on those shows. I do remember this. I admire and like Whoopi Goldberg a great deal as a comic and as an actor. I think she's cool, actually. And one of the things, again, like I was saying about Cheryl David and to Cheryl David, is it's weird if you've been an occupant of Hollywood to sort of find yourself like drifting further and further from that mentality and recognizing how much of it is crap, but then sort of trying to stay aware of, well, what about this new cartel or coterie that you belong to? And the only way actually that you can stand steadfast is principle. What is the principle? What is the principle that I'm standing by? The principle is tell the truth. Is that the principle? Tell the truth. The principle is serve God. Is that the principle? If you can't point to a principle, you're probably just doing what's expedient for you in that moment. That's why one day you believe in free speech, and the next day you don't believe in free speech anymore. And that's why Cheryl being on there is interesting, because Cheryl wouldn't normally be on there. Her acting is so good that I've called her Cheryl David a number of times. That's how easily duped I am. She's of course called Cheryl Hines. And as for The View, they don't have a principle, they have a side. And then they just bat for their side. They just bat for their side without thinking, wait a minute, are we the goodies hands is the perfect clip.
Have you looked at our caps recently?
Our caps?
The badges on our caps. Have you looked at them?
What? No. A bit?
They've got skulls on them. Have you noticed that our caps have actually got little pictures of skulls on them?
I don't,
Hans, are we the baddies?
Are we the baddies, Hans? Oh no, are we the baddies, Hans? Is the clip that everyone knows illustrates this perfectly. Okay, well, let's watch the end of this, Cheryl, and then we'll go to the woman herself live.
Okay. But so the question is, yes to vaccines. Yes, they are important, and they are an important part of our health care.
What I mean is War for Independence, the Revolutionary War, where George Washington at camp, I can't remember, it's where, let me know in the comments and chat, the one where everyone's got hypothermia, they're all dying, he vaccinated people. I know this.
Valley Forge?
Yes, Valley Forge. At Valley Forge, George Washington, like, he bought over that mad baron dude, a mad German baron, and he was like, don't put the lavatories next to the kitchen, train these people to do this, move them into units. He shaped them right up, and I can't remember what the country was that they were fighting against, but that country lost their Revolutionary War. I think it was the French. I can't remember the details. Details are sketchy. Anyway, George Washington came up, or used a form of vaccination even then. We'll be talking about vaccines, of course, in our show on Friday, so make sure you tune in for that. We'll be talking about Gavin De Becker's book, which is up there, and it's brilliant on the subject of vaccines and the observable and demonstrable corruption within the medical industry. You'll love that book if you ain't seen it yet. And also the interview with Gavin is fantastic. Let's watch the end of this with Cheryl Hines.
For our health care. Can we do better? Can we make them safer? Can we make them... can we listen to parents who say, my child got the vaccine and changed and stopped hitting markers, stopped developing the way they were developing.
We can't make this content without the support of our incredible partners. Here's a message from one now. Cryptocurrency is here to stay. We're going to have to educate ourselves and fast, particularly with this new and extraordinary deal that's going to impact everything and therefore everyone in the cryptocurrency world. I couldn't believe it when I first saw it. Listen to this. Trump Media just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Yorkville Acquisition Corp. And Crypto.com, the crypto platform trusted by millions of users worldwide. They have conglomerated in order to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi staking rewards and real-world perks like cashbacks on your spend to establish America's first CRO, Treasury Trump Media Group CRO strategy. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest publicly traded CRO holder out there. Do you want to get in on the action? Head to crypto.com today and let's make crypto great again. For more information on the proposed business combination, check out Yorkville Acquisition Corp's public filings. Go to the link in the description and look up crypto.com to learn more.
Can we listen to people when they say that instead of saying, you're crazy?
I agree with that, but you want to listen to science.
That's amazing, because she's actually gone into the territory which we'll be experiencing a lot more of saying, is there a link between vaccines and Asperger's and autism and attention deficit disorder and a whole deliberately, loosely defined coterie of conditions, and the fact that they're difficult to diagnose is actually part of the issue, and that is by design too. Autism deliberately occupies a broad spectrum, so it's really hard to track it and trace it, to use a phrase from the COVID period. That's all described beautifully in Gavin's book, Forbidden Facts also, so please get that if you don't have it yet. Okay, well, let's get into our interview with Cheryl Hines, who plays Cheryl David, who's written the book Unscripted. If you buy that book, it's going to make us look good, mean we'll get better guests. The better the guests, the better the show will be. You can participate in this ecology however you want to. Get Rumble Premium if you don't have it yet, and please enjoy this interview. Cheryl, thanks so much for joining us today. It's lovely to see you.
It's always good to see you, Russell.
We're here to talk mostly about your book, Unscripted. I've read a little bit of it. You know what it's like, reading books. It's difficult, isn't it? Sometimes I can write a whole book without reading it, let alone other people's entire books. So, but it's...
I get it.
I've had a bit of a heads up though, because like a couple of times I've been in, I've hung out with your husband, and he told me the story. Actually, not as well as you've told it, but a pretty good job of, for example, how you got to be on Curb and that you were known as Urine Girl as a result of your position and performance in a sketch, one of the sketches that led to your casting, in fact, or was significant, at least in your progression. And it was really clear to me then, if it's not overindulgent and mawkish for me to say so, what high regard, obviously, your husband holds you in, but also that he's really paying attention to you and really cares about you and really enjoyed telling that story. And like, before I sort of knew you both, I thought, like, and I hope this isn't a sexist thing to say, that Cheryl will be defined to some degree by her relationship with these two extraordinary and idiosyncratic curmudgeons, Larry David and Robert Kennedy. Strong, peculiar, unusual, extraordinary and brilliant men. And it's interesting to watch that play out on a cultural level. Thanks for joining us today. I've so much to talk to you about and listen to you. Hopefully I'll shut up in a second, Cheryl. I reckon this hasn't been a question yet, but I just wanted to touch upon how your publicity tour began with your appearance on The View and how that has set the stage for you, both promoting your brilliant book Unscripted, but also this new and unique position you're in as someone that's from somewhat mainstream culture and now occupies this liminal space that I find myself in. And I know that you didn't ever intend to be here, and it must be weird that because of love and marriage you found yourself in this strange space. How does View, your appearance on The View, typify that? And was that the first time you've been, in a sense, confronted by your new position in the culture?
Yes. My husband, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is now the Secretary of HHS. And
really the View was. I had done a few interviews before that, but the View was. Um, it was a good indicator, that a lot of people o- only associate me with my husband and his position. So I spent really that entire interview just, um, I guess, defending my husband, but just laying out some facts about what they had been getting wrong. So it was good that I had the chance to do that, you know. Um, and I I I haven't been on other interviews for a while. So it was a jump start on this publicity tour.
Because it kind of cements the new position you're in the same way, I suppose, that your husband's position in the culture reveals a lot to us. Because in a sane, somewhat objective, or at least good faith culture, the collusion and collaboration between Donald Trump and Robert Kennedy would have signified that the world, in particular the American political and cultural world, was changing, that it couldn't be as simple as Trump is evil and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and them are good, liberal, progressive people. Otherwise, a candidate and figure that's much more progressive, open, willing to take on corporate interests, understands issues as diverse as big pharma, the environment, is now working with Trump. It was too hard of a proposition to deal with. But our culture these days, Cheryl, as you are obviously more aware than I am, is so partitioned that you never have an objective conversation about that. So I think the reason, as well as the excellent way that you handled the interview, that it's become significant and got watched a bunch, is because normally you don't see someone who's a natural in that environment because you're a successful actor representing that side of the conversation. So it's pretty fascinating. How did that interview help you to understand that you ain't in Kansas no more, that you're not like appearing on HBO specials and beloved series with Larry David? You're in this weird new terrain.
Yes, it did, and I knew it probably would be that way, right? Because it's just because of my experience and everything I've been seeing for the last, I don't know, year, 2 years, 3 years. So uh, yeah, it was. I don't want to say eye opening. My eyes were already open. That's why I was ready for their uh, questions. But I thought it was interesting that, uh, in that interview in particular, they really only wanted to define me by my husband, and I didn't ask them anything about their husbands. Wouldn't wouldn't have that been interesting if I went down one by one, oh, your husband's in a lawsuit right now, isn't he? But I didn't. I didn't make it about their husbands, but that's what a lot of people want to talk to me about.
Yeah. Do you know what's also interesting about that is that the View would see themselves almost by definition as a kind of vessel for female power and female empowerment. But when actually dealing with a woman, if it's not convenient to them, they will just talk about that person's husband endlessly, because none of the values of the culture are that permanent. Is that something like... It seems like a long time ago that I was a person that was in Hollywood and married to Katy Perry and being in movies and having billboards of myself up on Sunset Boulevard and working with comfortably in the environment where it's easy to believe you're fantastic. And well, actually, I find it hard to believe I'm fantastic, and even did then. But was it like for you, Cheryl, to depart from that world? Has it been a wrench? How do you feel about it?
Well, it's a good question. I feel very fortunate that I've had the career I've had. I've accomplished a lot of things I set out to accomplish as an actress. So I have, I've been in a lot of TV shows, I've been in a lot of movies, and uh, at the end of the day, and I talk about this in my book Unscripted, but at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself what really matters, what really, really matters, and what really brings you happiness. And uh, working does bring me happiness, but it doesn't compare at all to the happiness I get from my family, and my relationships. So all of those things are great. Like you said, it's great to drive down Sunset Boulevard and see um, a billboard, but it doesn't change your life. But your family, your love that you have for other people changes your life.
We've got to stop the interview there. If you're watching us anywhere other than on Rumble, click the link in the description, get over to Rumble and join us there.